If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description.
Could we have the money now?
The answer is no.
I'm afraid I must insist. You see, my wife, she has been most vocal on the subject of the gold pouch upgrade monies. Where's the money? When are you going to get the money? Why aren't you getting the money now? And so on. So please, the money.
You heard her. She said no.
Teleporter, little robot dude.
Advance on them.
Maseylia: Echoes of the Past is a beautiful game, especially in motion. Its art direction pulls heavily from the work of Moebius, the legendary French comic artist whose surreal sci-fi landscapes have shaped the look of the genre for decades. I'll dig deeper into that influence later, but for now, just know this. Maseyllia's Moebius-inspired beauty is what first grabbed my attention and refused to let go. But it wasn't just the world that hooked me, it was the movement. The protagonist is quick, responsive, expressive. He just looked fun to control. And when the developer also cited pseudo-regalia as an inspiration, that sealed it. I couldn't wait to get this game in my hands. Spoilers, Maseylia was worth the wait. But before I get ahead of myself, let's set the stage. You play as an adventurer living in a cave your people were forced to retreat to generations ago after the people from the sky invaded. Your father's been missing for some time, and you decide to brave the dangerous wilds in hopes of finding him and bringing him home. Is Maseylia's parkour hardcore enough to enthrall players? Or is this adventure going to be like that one scene from The Office? Hilarious, yet sad.
Parkour!
Combat.
Let me say this up front. Maseylia is not a combat-focused game. Combat isn't bad. I genuinely loved plucking flying enemies out of the sky with my bow. But don't get too excited. It's simple, and it stays simple. Your little dude has a melee attack, a ranged attack, and can build up mana through attacking that he can then use to heal himself. That's basically the whole combat toolkit. No special moves, no counters, no blocking, no parrying. Just you, your stick, and your bow. Thankfully, your movement is exquisite, so dodging and jumping away from danger feels fantastic. And that's the point. The game lives in how you move, not how you fight. So I wouldn't put too much weight in my dismissive attitude towards combat. And this is the part of the review where I talk about the bosses, of which I have zero footage. I usually only record the first half of a game to avoid late game spoilers, and Maseylia doesn't put any bosses in your path early on. Or maybe it does and I just didn't find them, because the game is extremely open-ended. Either way, the last few hours of my playthrough turned into a full-on boss hunt, and it was great. I had a lot of fun tracking them down. Take my experience with a grain of salt, because it's completely possible I could have reached some of these bosses earlier. But I'm fairly confident that each one required movement abilities I didn't have during my first visit to their biomes. So, backtracking to fight them feels intentional, or at least it felt necessary in my run. But as the old saying goes, the chase is more thrilling than the catch. Battling these bosses was far less exciting than hunting them down. I don't have any footage, but here's a quick reenactment courtesy of the Duke himself. Yep, every boss can be beaten with the classic circle strafing. They look cool, here's a couple from the trailer, but mechanically, they're pushovers. And that'll do for combat. Maseylia's combat gets the job done, but it's never the star of the show. The real thrill comes from the hunt, exploring, unlocking new movement abilities, and finally tracking down these late game bosses. The fights themselves are simple and ultimately pretty easy, and that's fine. Combat isn't why you play Maseylia. You play it for the movement, the world, and the adventure that carries you to those encounters in the first place. Speaking of which...
Abilities, platforming.
This is where Maseylia thrives, its abilities in platforming. If you like 3D platforming, you're going to love this game. Your little dude controls beautifully, the platforming challenges are equal parts daunting and exhilarating, and the abilities you unlock are a blast to experiment with. You start with the classics, double jump, air dash, but things escalate fast. The hookshot type ability flings you toward special orbs, the sand dash lets you hang in midair until you decide which direction to yeet yourself, and the biome gimmicks, ice sliding, swamp surfing, trampoline bouncing, spike impaling, keep the game fresh and engaging. Put it all together and you've got a thrill ride that rarely lets up. Some of the set pieces are genuinely jaw-dropping. Take this one. I stared at this for a solid minute wondering how on earth I was supposed to do it, and then actually doing it was just as wild. And that's only one example. Here's another moment I want to show off specifically for 2 reasons. One, it's a great example of how mastery over your moveset and stubbornness can lead to fun sequence breaks, and 2, if the developer is watching, I think he'll get a good laugh. In this underwater segment, I'm trying to cross this bottomless gorge by leaping from tower to tower while avoiding the tower's attacks. This is not an easy feat, but I was actually able to do it thanks to the bubbles between towers. Every time you collect a bubble, your aerial moves refresh, meaning I could double jump and air dash to the bubble, collect it, and get another double jump and air dash. I painstakingly did this for like 20 minutes until I reached the other side of the gorge. It was exciting, a little frustrating, but super rewarding, and I was so happy when I accomplished it. Want me to show you how you're intended to cross this gap? Yeah, that move made crossing way easier. But you know what? I had fun doing it this stupid and stubborn way. No regrets. And that's the beauty of Maseylia's platforming. The world's designed so multiple approaches can work. The game rarely signposts where to go or how to tackle a challenge. I lost count on how many times I scaled a massive structure thinking, there's no way this is how I'm supposed to do this, only to realize it absolutely was. The overall world design feels organic, like you're exploring a world, not running through levels. Now, there aren't many 3D Metroidvanias out there, and even fewer with a platforming focus, so comparisons to Pseudo Regalia are inevitable, especially since Maseylia's dev cites it as an inspiration. And while I can definitely see the influence, the 2 games approach platforming in fundamentally different ways. In short, Pseudo Regalia focuses on deliberate movement, experimentation, and expression, while Maseylia is all about challenge, precision, and speed. Though, to be fair, Sybil can get pretty speedy in capable hands. Both platforming philosophies are valid, I just find the contrast between the 2 games' approaches fascinating. And that's it for this section. Maseylia's platforming is the heart of the game, a fast and flexible experience in a creative playground that rewards curiosity and mastery. Whether you're tackling massive platforming set pieces, sequence breaking with the power of stubbornness and stupidity, or discovering that the impossible route was actually intended all along, the game makes movement exhilarating. It stands out not just because 3D Metroidvanias are rare, but because Maseylia commits fully to its own platforming philosophy and absolutely nails it.
Progression.
Progression in Maseylia has me mixed. Overall, it's fine, but there are some decisions that left me scratching my head. Let's start from the beginning. This is a Metroid-like with modifiers. That means there are no gear, XP, or skill trees, you increase HP and mana by finding collectibles in the world, and there's an accessory system like Hollow Knight and Rabby Ribby. Collect charms and equip them at flags around the world, typically near a save point. You only ever have 5 slots for charms, with some charms costing more than others to equip, and these charms can do things like double your healing power or grant you money when you attack, stuff like that. Now, the issue is with the money. Like Silksong, everything costs in this game except save points. You want to capture a flag so you can equip charms?
$15, little man.
You want a teleporter so you can fast travel? That's $150 to $250 per teleporter. You can only hold $200 in your pouch? Better buy a pouch upgrade from this mushroom man, but it's gonna cost you. I don't love this approach. Buying pouch capacity feels like artificial progression, and it never feels impactful. What makes it worse is that the map doesn't track mushroom men or unpurchased upgrades, and you can't mark the map yourself. So you better have a photographic memory, because the chances of you meeting a mushroom man without enough cash to purchase his wares is shockingly high. It's not hard to earn money, kill enemies, and smash special rocks, but somehow I was always short when I needed it, or my pouch wasn't big enough to buy everything on offer. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a persistent, low-grade annoyance, and I can see completionists getting very salty. That'll do it for progression. Maseylia's progression works well enough, but its economy adds a layer of friction that doesn't always feel earned. The charm setup is solid, but constantly paying for basic conveniences and having no way to track vendors turns what should be satisfying exploration into occasional annoyance. It's not game-breaking, just a design choice that never quite clicks and may test your patience.
Exploration.
I covered a lot of exploration in the abilities and platforming section, so I'll keep this brief. Exploration in Maseylia is largely non-linear, with very little signposting and a world that feels organic rather than level-based. That alone is a winning combo for Metroidvania. Add in lore nuggets, charms, hidden HP and mana upgrades to uncover, and some genuinely awe-inspiring sights, and it's easy to say exploring this world feels rewarding. What I especially like is the structure. The first half feels almost aimless in a good way, letting you wonder, get lost, and truly sink into the world as you find your own way. Then the back half reveals a clear objective that reframes everything, turning the game into a kind of scavenger hunt that pushes you back into earlier biomes so you can use your new abilities to uncover their secrets. It's a satisfying structure with great payoff, and I think it's where Pseudo-Regalia's influence is most obvious. However, I've always found that Metroidvanias built around challenging platforming share one big weakness: tedious backtracking. And unfortunately, Maseylia isn't an exception. One look at the map and the issue jumps out immediately: long corridors. Games that emphasize precision platforming need a lot of space to build their challenges, which is great the first time through. But when the game asks you to backtrack, and Maseylia requires it, you end up rerunning entire gauntlets just to check whether you're headed in the right direction. Even with new abilities making these sections easier, they're still not effortless enough to avoid feeling like you're going through the motions. The game tries to soften this with shortcuts and teleporters, but when I rarely had enough money to unlock teleporters, that solution didn't help much. Does this hurt the game? That depends. If you pace yourself or you genuinely enjoy rerunning platforming sections with new abilities to see how much faster you can go, you'll probably love this aspect, and I think that's cool. As for the map, I mentioned it earlier, but it's worth repeating. You can't mark it up, which is a dang shame. The game automatically places some points of interest like teleporters, upgrades, and charms, but mushroom men and save points? No dice. Feels like an oversight that'll probably get patched, he said hintingly. Otherwise, it's a perfectly fine map. Biomes are clearly distinguished. You can easily tell where you are on it and in which direction you're facing. You can see map completion by biome, and you can rotate and zoom. You will need to find a little robot and pay him to unlock each biome's map though.
$15, little man. Put that shit in my hand.
That's it for exploration. Maseylia's exploration is at its best when you're charting your own path through its pastel world, uncovering secrets, and revisiting old biomes with new abilities. Backtracking might drag for some players, and the map has a few quirks that make navigation rougher than it needs to be, but the overall sense of discovery is strong enough to carry the experience.
Atmosphere. Narrative.
Maseylia's art direction is distinct and gorgeous. Its pastel, cel-shaded visuals clash with the dystopian, war-torn world you're exploring, and it fills me with this strange, melancholic joy if that's even a thing. You can see Mobius's influence everywhere. The soft, airy color palettes, the surreal architectural shapes, the way the world feels ancient and alien, but also strangely peaceful. Mobius had this gift for making sci-fi feel mystical instead of mechanical, and Maseylia effectively taps into that feeling. Structures rise out of the landscape like they grew there. Machinery looks ancient but functional. Even the skyboxes feel hand-painted. It gives the whole game this dreamy, contemplative air. And because the platforming is so fast and expressive, you're constantly weaving through these painterly vistas in a way that feels almost zen. The game's soundtrack certainly has a meditative feel to it and perfectly complements the visuals. Narratively, Maseylia keeps things atmospheric and mostly in the background. You're given just enough context to get moving. A missing father, a fractured world, a civilization scarred by the people from the sky. But the game trusts you to piece things together yourself. Environmental storytelling, NPC encounters, and notes left behind by your father and the invaders slowly fill in the gaps. If you want to understand the deeper lore, you'll have to dig for it while you explore. And I think that's the perfect way to present this game's narrative. And that's it for this section. Maseylia's atmosphere and narrative work hand in hand to create a world that feels both haunting and serene. The Mobius-inspired art, the meditative soundtrack, and the quiet environmental storytelling all blend into an experience that's less about being told a story and more about feeling it. And if you want to know more about the story explicitly, then there's required reading in which you can partake.
Final thoughts and score.
Maseylia: Echoes of the Past is a gorgeous, expressive adventure carried by its movement, atmosphere, and sense of discovery. Combat is simple, the economy can be irritating, backtracking can occasionally drag, and some UI and menus could use some polish. But the moment-to-moment experience of traversing its world is so strong that those rough edges never outweigh the joy of playing it. Its platforming set pieces, pastel dream visuals, and quiet narrative tone create something memorable, heartfelt, and genuinely fun to inhabit. If you're here for fluid movement, creative challenges, and a world that feels alive, Maseylia delivers. I award Maseylia: Echoes of the Past a 7.5 out of 10. Maseylia: Echoes of the Past is available on PC starting June 19th, 2026, and is planned for consoles at a later date. I played the game exclusively on the Steam Deck with some minor issues. Larger rooms would experience a slight dip in frame rate, and the game's handful of cutscenes would not play on the deck. Hopefully this gets figured out soon, but as it stands as of the publication of this video, I'm giving Maseylia: Echoes of the Past a Steam Deck rating of playable.
Tier placement.
When it comes to the pillars that define a Metroidvania, Maseylia stands tall where it matters most. Combat's simple, and the pay-for-everything economy isn't the most impactful form of character progression, but the movement-driven progression, ability-gated world design, and mid-game structural shift give the adventure real weight. Its platforming is exceptional, its exploration loop is engaging and rewarding, and its atmosphere ties everything together beautifully, even if the cel-shaded style won't be for everyone. Maseylia: Echoes of the Past bounces into the B tier. If you're looking for a hands-off experience with a beautiful world to get lost in and a whole lot of intense platforming, Maseylia should be your next stop. And that's Mobius. You know, like no BS, Mobius. Yeah, now you get it. Your boos satiate me.